Okay.
Hi, Carla. Thanks for joining me today.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we're going to start a little bit of a personal interview. We're going to do a couple of questions, more formal, and then we'll transition into a few more fun questions that we get to know you a little bit better. So why don't you tell us what your path was to becoming the quality manager at Concord Projects?
Well, it definitely wasn't a clear path. I started off my career as a carpenter in the apprenticeship program, which soon found out in one of my past employments that I wasn't actually getting apprenticeship hours. However, because of the what I was doing and how the hours worked, and because I already had one child to take care of, the hours worked really well for me. So I stuck with it, and I actually learned so much more at that place because I became the facilities manager there. And there was 450 employees there, and I took care of all the equipment and the building. Plus there was lots of renovations and additions to that building. So I learned a lot on the construction side of things, and took all my management training, leadership skills all through that avenue.
Okay.
And it landed me the opportunity to apply with Concord with one of my mentors who followed me throughout my career, and I actually met him at my previous job. And he kind of gave me the foot in here, and that's where I've learned to, I started off as a site supervisor and did that for a few years, went into project coordinator, so I took all the little steps to get me to where I am today.
Cool. And how long have you been with Concord now?
I have been with Concord in April. It will be my 12th year.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had some time in the field then as well as in the office.
Yes.
So what do you think the biggest challenge females would face on the site?
Well, because I was on the site, if I could just stick to, not my carpenter days, and stuck to the site supervisor days, I think the biggest challenge is you're in that supervisor role. And as we know, there aren't a lot of females in that role. So there's always the challenge of, and I wouldn't even say it's so much the older generation, because I think most of them were actually more accepting than the younger ones. And how that works, I'm not sure. But I think the biggest challenge is you always constantly trying to prove yourself. And you always feel that you need to do that on a regular basis in order to get that respect from your peers and from everybody on the site. So and it doesn't seem right, because most of it is having to do with the female aspect of it. But once you get past that, most of the guys, that they don't see you as a female. They just see you as a person and doing a job and doing their best kind of thing.
So what do you think would be your piece of advice then to a woman who is looking at going into the field and knowing that, okay, maybe I got to work extra hard? What would you say or advise them as to actions in order to sort of minimize that requirement?
I think you have to actually it has to start with, you have to have the right personality, and you have to have the right outlook on things. When I say that, I mean, you kind of have to go in there sort of like you're already kind of tough as nails. You have to go in there with the mindset that you are going to run up against those people and those male counterparts that have the comments. You got to know how to take them. I always learned that you have to consider the source. That was my main thing I always focused on. Considering the source means who is saying that to you and what type of person is that. And taking it down to that, not saying that it's right, it doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it acceptable, and letting them know that is what you need to do on a regular, but also consider the source.
Yeah. Okay. So do you think Manitoba Women in Construction can help girls, women with that type of thing?
I think they can. I actually think just knowing that there are other women out there is a huge, huge help. I speak that on a personal level, and when I came into the workforce, there was absolutely no women in my building construction course. There was actually no women on the job sites, where at least now you see a few of us. Manitoba Women Construction, allows you to have that avenue to say, hey, wait a minute, that even exists. That means that there's got to be more of me. And I think that's just a comfort in itself.
So if you could give your 17-year-old self a little piece of advice, what would it be?
I honestly, since I got involved with Manitoba Women in Construction, and it was right at the inception, right when we were meeting all for the first time and wondering, okay, what is this about? My advice, I would have loved to have that sort of outlet when I was 17, because it would have made my choices back then so much easier. So, because I didn't have that avenue, I guess the piece of advice I always gave myself is stick to your guns and do what you love, no matter what it takes.
Okay. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to throw a few more personal questions at you, so we get a sense of who you actually really are. A big one in construction, of course, is coffee versus tea. What do you drink?
Ooh. Funny thing is, growing up, I always drank tea with my mom. When I got into construction is actually when I started drinking coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say coffee because I need coffee every morning.
Okay, do you drink it just in the morning or do you drink it all day?
Nope, just in the morning. I have one or two and I'm good.
Awesome. So are you a morning person or a night owl?
Ooh. I am definitely not a morning person. I would say I like to keep to myself the first thing when I come into the office in the morning, get myself settled before I can maybe put a smile on my face and go on with the day.
Yeah.
But I do stay up late as well. And that's only because when I get home, there's so much to do. And by the time I realize what time it is, I was like, okay, I guess I should get some sleep.
So you're a mother of 3, now granted slightly older, but your spare time would probably be minimal. But when you do have spare time, would you pick up a book or would you watch TV?
You know what? When I do have spare time, I do neither.
Oh, so what do you do?
When I have time for me, I'm usually picking up a tool and fixing something. Or I've had a lot of projects at the lake and at home that I just like to do whenever I feel like doing it. There's no pressure. And that's simply because most days, being in management for so long, you do miss being on the tools.
Getting your hands dirty a little bit.
Yeah. And that's actually my way of relaxing. It's kind of funny because at the lake, my kind of downtime, I love when I've got some little project to do and Bernie's like my husband is off fishing. My relaxing time is doing that, and the people around are like, how come you're working and your husband's out fishing? I'm like, no, no, it's not work to me.
I'm relaxing. I'm fine.
Believe it or not. So yeah.
So what's the best thing about living in Manitoba, do you think?
I always feel Manitoba is a safe province. And I don't know if COVID just proves that even some more. But I like the size of it. I like how it still feels, I mean, I know we're not small, but at least I like Winnipeg itself. I like how kind of everybody knows everybody, especially in the construction business. It's more of a, like our license plates say it all, like friendly Manitoba. It's more of a community atmosphere. And I think that's harder to find in bigger cities.
Okay. And so I'm wrapping up all the interviews pretty much with the same question, which is, here's this whole COVID situation. You may have had to work remotely for a bit, but if not, your office was probably pretty thin. What did this whole situation teach you about yourself?
Oh, geez. This COVID thing has been, obviously for everybody, nothing we've ever expected. I wouldn't even think in a million years that we would be going through this in this kind of day and age. I think it's just how quickly you look around and how things adapted pretty quickly, and how we did that personally on a personal basis. And I think with all of that, the hardest part of all it is realizing how, like, the intermingling and how important that is, and how it kind of feels without it.
Yeah. So you miss that intermingling.
Yeah, for sure. And that networking, and that even going out for lunch is completely a different ball game. And it's just kind of weird that it kind of makes you realize that you just never know.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, Carla. And it was great to get to know you a little bit better and to touch base. I've missed our board meetings and our events, and actually getting to face with people. So it's been great to spend a little bit of time with you.
Thank you. It was great to be here, and love chatting with you.
Yeah. Thanks.